This is the last food forest update that you guys are gonna get until spring. That's months away. And so enjoy this, absorb it, because this is the last one you're gonna get for a long time. And I've got some really exciting things to share. Stay tuned, and then I've got a next chapter coming real soon. But until then, enjoy this. This is the last food forest update you will see from me until spring. I have some really exciting things to share with you. So let's do a recap. 3 years ago, I started learning about food forests. I had this big vision to transform what was previously just a neglected, mostly empty citrus and plum orchard. I had dreams of transforming it into this grand food forest. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea at all. So I attended a permaculture course because I had just learned about what permaculture was. I just kept diving in, I kept learning, I kept applying things, and some things worked really well and some things didn't. And I've been documenting that whole process here online. You can see it if you just scroll back. Now we fast forward almost 3 years and things have transformed massively. My skills, my understanding, practical application, Syntropic agroforestry especially, just continued to level up. And so I'm really excited. You can see the transformation. You can see how things are happening now. The feedback is one of my favorite things to see. The feedback loops of how things are working and what's working well and what's not working well. This particular thing right here that I'm looking at is an alley crop system for the temperate food forest. Now, this is something that I've been really excited about for at least the last year, because previously it was just grass between these tree lines of temperate fruit trees. We have some established plums in here, mulberry, and last year I came and I added a whole diversity of species, a lot of berries, a lot of perennial herbs and vegetables and other fruit trees, some long-term, some short-term, things like pecans, American pawpaw. There's currants in here, more mulberries, more plums, apricots, nectarines, pomegranates, rosemary, sage, strawberries, alpine strawberries, Japanese wineberries, blackberries, blueberries, multiple raspberry varieties. Of course, the support trees that are going to be used for ramula wood chips, willow and poplar. Specific varieties, we've got the Japanese fodder willow and the kawa poplar. They have really nice growth habits. But until yesterday, everything was grass in between. So I was using the brush cutter and I was harvesting the grass and using that as mulch on the edge of the tree lines. But now you can see we've brought some banana logs in to just hold things down in the meantime. But what's going to happen in the center now is, at the moment, it's cover crop. We'll eventually transition into annual vegetables, perennial vegetables, biomass. Options are unlimited. Really exciting to see the new use of the space. So we've got some alley crops in between our temperate tree lines. We've also got a similar system here, which already has been planted. We've got elephant garlic and some propagation areas for the poplar and the willow up against the back of this recently installed last year, I believe, Syntropic system, where we've got raspberries, we've got sugarcane, guava, cherimoya, ice cream beans, tamarillo, some other things here and there, rhubarb, and that's doing really nicely. This is a new area, a recently planted area that was just planted this spring, so about 8 to 9 months ago, and the Mexican sunflower has had 3 individual interventions in that first year, not harvesting a lot of biomass, mostly at this stage helping to shade a lot of the kikuyu out from the tree line, providing a little bit of biomass, but really getting the formative structure of it. You can see how I'm pruning it so that it's mostly 1 or 2 liters from the base, and then as it comes up, it gets more bushy and just fills out a little bit more, rather than having just a bunch of long stems that reach up and don't provide a lot of a frost cover. So that was one of my mistakes in the first year, is not pruning them in the right way as we approach winter. But you can see this first area is developing really nicely. The bananas are coming up well. You can see there's some eucalypts in here that are starting to develop. But for turning from entirely grass 8 to 9 months ago with some established citrus and just a ton of grass in between, this has gone really, really quickly and transformed the space very fast. That's exciting to see. This row was planted almost 2 years ago, so in spring it will be 2 years. And again, the Mexican sunflower on the north edge, the eucalypts, high diversity of eucalypts. This is the Viminalis, still doing the trials at this stage to see what varieties work better than others. High density of tree lucerne. You can see there's a tree lucerne about every meter. There's one, here's another one, and then another tree lucerne, and tree lucerne all the way down. Mostly because after that first year, I realized The frost just smashed everything because I didn't have a high enough density of support species. I was still learning a lot from the Agroforestry Academy guys, Felipe and Gennaro, and realizing that support trees, especially in frosty or colder areas where you're trying to protect from frost, the support trees need to be planted at a really high density compared to how they were planted in that first effort, which you can see they're about 4 meters apart. I've recently gone and interplanted again between them. Now we're entering the oldest food forest area. You can see it's a bit overgrown. I have to do a little bit of pruning here to open things up. Get rid of the stagnant Mexican sunflower because, as we all know, the stagnant hormones that plants produce, they spread to other plants around them. And so if I've got a whole food forest of Mexican sunflower that's going into flower, it's slowing down, it's stagnating, those hormones are shared between other trees and amongst the other plants. And so I don't want them to be sharing that stagnant hormone. I want them to be in a vigorous growth stage as much as possible. So I'm going to do a big reset in here, but not too long from now, but not such a big reset that it invites frost in, because you can see we've got our pineapples, we've got our taro still happy in the understory. The cherimoya hasn't been frosted yet, and so I'm not wanting to open things up so much that it frosts, but I'm wanting to open things up, or at least do enough of a reset to get rid of a lot of those Mexican sunflowers, to reset the Mexican sunflowers and just open things up a little bit more. But this is the 2.5-year-old agroforestry system, pretty much in the middle of winter. Haven't had a severe frost yet, nothing major. There's been some light frost in other areas which have been affected, but in here there's absolutely zero sign of damage. Everything is looking really, really healthy and happy. It's amazing how quickly this space has transformed, looking back at the old footage of a single tree line that looked like it was full of vegetables. So that's a 2.5-year-old system, and obviously we can go a little bit further back. There's an area of Mexican sunflower that has not been pruned recently, so I'll be needing to come in here to make sure that we're not spreading this stagnant effect throughout the rest of the forest as things develop through winter. So this is just to highlight the importance of heavily pruning your species, whether it's a herbaceous support species or a tree species, because you don't want it to go stagnant. That'll have a negative impact on the rest of your agroforestry system if you let things stay stagnant for a long period of time. So, quick interruption. You guys know that I run in-person workshops here around the country about Syntropic agroforestry. They're all really hands-on, and they last about a weekend. And so what I'm doing is I have a bunch of events planned for spring. So I'm doing right now is I'm hosting a pre-sale. So anybody who wants to buy their tickets early, they're gonna be in October and November. There's gonna be some here in the Bay of Plenty, up in Coromandel, Northland, Auckland, whatever other region there's enough interest in. But if you wanna get on early with a lower price, there's a pre-sale happening right now for the next handful of days. Check out the website, you'll see how to sign up there, and back to the video. Keep enjoying. Here's a really cool example of a citrus in a medium strata. You can see it's not getting a ton of direct sunlight, but obviously it's still fruiting and it looks really, really healthy, but it's sitting below the banana, it's sitting below the eucalypt right here, sitting below the acacia, and the eucalypt up there. So it's really not getting a ton of direct sunlight. It's even got a Mexican sunflower taking a lot of that early northerly sunlight on the north side, so it's really in quite low light conditions for what typically people assume citrus need. However, big, beautiful dark green leaves, very healthy. I did a bricks test and it came in about 2 points higher than another citrus that was planted on its own outside of an agroforestry system. Right below it, we've got a cherimoya, we've got an ice cream bean, we've got a cherry guava, we've got this dwarf cardamom, we've got a macadamia, an avocado seedling, and this is an oak leaf papaya, which is deciduous at the moment, right next to a poplar, acacia, more taro, more cherimoya, ice cream bean. So it's all really packed in here, but things are looking very happy and healthy, especially given the time of year. We've got a eucalypt right here. This is about 2.5 years old, just over 2.5 years old, and it's a pretty good size. You can see it's been dropping a lot of organic material. You can see this is all the bark mulch that's turning into just beautiful nutrients covering the soil. Really, really rich conditions. Sitting right next to this papaya, which has just started to flower, it looks like, which is exciting. So there we go, all that leaf litter coming down to feed the bananas, feed the tree line from the eucalypt. So to provide some context to where we just came from, that's all in block 1. That's where all the agroforestry trials have stayed for the last 3 years as I've been learning. But the fun thing is I've been able to expand more and more every single year just because I develop my skills better and I understand the planting to make it more efficient, and I just have a better understanding. So as the seasons progress, I can plant more and more. And so next year, this is the area that we'll be looking at for planting. This is the start of block 2, and this is really what block 1 looked and felt like before it got planted with agroforestry systems. So you can see I've already started to do a little bit of companion planting with the citrus. We've got an establishing mandarin right here that we planted a couple years ago. Have a tree lucerne with it. It was planted recently. On this side we've got the eucalypt, a more sad looking mandarin, but all of this is going to get planted really high density bananas, Mexican sunflower, bonnegrass in different configurations compared to block 1, so that I can really trial and test the effectiveness of certain planting techniques and management strategies. That's exciting, but really this is kind of at the moment what block 2 is feeling like, just to see, you know, so I can come back in another 12 months and say, hey, look, here's how much things have developed. We've got citrus, we've already just harvested the mandarins, and for those who aren't familiar, we're certified organic. We have been for the last 20 years, and so a lot of the fruit from the established trees already gets sold to organic shops all around New Zealand. We ship up to Auckland, we ship down to Christchurch, Dunedin. There's all sorts of organic shops that buy our produce already, and so as more and more of these agroforestry products kind of start to come online in a commercial scale, we can just continue shipping to those specific organic vendors, which is really exciting. It's really convenient to already have a market established for the existing fruit trees. You can see the oranges are just absolutely pumping. There's a whole block of them over there. And so as things come on, the bananas, the papaya, the sugarcane, whatever it is, we can just start incorporating that into what we're currently providing the shops with. It's exciting to see where things are at now, get a bit of a sense of what block 2 looks and feels like before it gets fully planted up with bananas and support species and a high density of other things. So real exciting. Stay tuned for that. This is the last area I'll update you guys on. It's the most recently planted. You can watch the video here on the design and the layout, but you can see because it's less established, it has been subject to some recent frost. The frost will only get progressively worse as the season continues, but so far things are hanging in there, and I don't expect there to be too many casualties because things are resilient. But this is just an update on how things are looking. The tamarillos have taken a little bit of damage, and some of the Mexican sunflower has taken some damage, but again, the growing tips are fine, and I'm not actually that worried because I can always replant things if they do. Like if the Mexican sunflower do fully die, that's okay. I can always come back and replant in spring. And then this right here is the highest density system. There's no wheelbarrow access in here. It's literally just a single track with biomass species on both sides of you. It's really dense and it's filled, absolutely filled with species. You can check this out here. You can see we've got a tree line of cherimoya, citrus, jipotacaba, more cherimoya, ice cream beans, papaya, eucalypt, along with some bananas. And so really high density, just to see how dense I can make things. So this area was done super high density on purpose just to see how dense I could make this food forest. But you can see it's just a full dense block. It doesn't actually look like you can get through there unless I've recently pruned it, which I have not. I'm gonna let it continue to get overgrown through winter. So that's pretty much the update. That's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys before I take off on this next chapter. I'm not gonna announce what it is yet, but you'll know soon enough because it's some really exciting things that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and it's finally time for it. So I'm excited, I'm eager, I'm excited to get this all shared with you. Updates on block 1, ideas for block 2. Any questions, let me know. I'll make sure to see you guys very shortly. Catch you soon.